I was 17 the first time I saw him. Up north, near the frozen edge of Minnesota, winter doesn't arrive gently. It comes down like a verdict. The trees freeze where they stand. The lakes turn to glass. Sound travels too far, too clearly. That's where I worked my first logging season. In a camp so remote, the map might as well have given up on it. That's what they told me about Paul Bunyan. The men didn't laugh when they said his name. That's what unsettled me. They didn't grin like they were passing around some tall tale to scare the new kid. They spoke low, like they were discussing weather, or debt, or something inevitable. You'll know when he's near, my bunkmate. Elias told me that first night, staring at the frost building on the inside of the window. The ground won't shake. Not exactly. It'll breathe. I thought he was joking. The first sign wasn't the footprints. It was the silence. We were cutting along the north ridge at dawn when everything stopped. No wind. No branches creaking. Even the distant river seemed to hesitate. The kind of silence that presses against your ears until you're re-aware of your own blood moving. Then came the sound. A single strike. It didn't echo like a normal axe. It rolled. Deep. Slow. As if something enormous had hit the spine of the earth itself. My teeth rattled. Snow slid from the trees in sheets. The older men didn't run. They didn't even look surprised. They just took off their hats. Another strike. This time, I saw it. Far beyond the tree line. Through the blue haze of cold, something moved against the horizon. At first, I thought it was a storm front. Then I realized the sky wasn't shifting. The treetops were. They were dropping. Not one by one, not in a line. Whole sections of forest were folding downward as if pressed by an invisible hand. And then I saw him. He wasn't as clean as the statues you see in roadside towns. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't carved from cheerful folklore. A was vast, coat stretched across shoulders, broader than barns. Beard stiff with frost. Each step sank deep enough to swallow a sled hole. He didn't look mythical. He looked tired. Beside him moved something even larger, a shape the color of deep winter twilight. At first I thought the sky itself was descending. Then it turned its head. The blue wasn't paint. It wasn't decoration. It was fur. Baby. Steam rolled from the animal's nostrils in thick clouds. Each exhale drifted across the forest and froze midder, dusting the trees in crystalline frost. The blue of its hide wasn't tea-bright. It was the blue of ice that has been trapped for centuries beneath a glacier. They moved slowly. Not because they were weak, because they didn't need to hurry. Paul raised his axe again. When it came down, the impact knocked me backward into the snow. I didn't hear the tree fall. I heard the world adjust around it. Somewhere to the south, ice cracked across a lake, miles away. Somewhere west, a ridge split open. I remembered the stories then, how the Great Lakes were carved by his hands, how canyons were scars left by his boots, how mountains were nothing but dirt shaken loose when he cleaned his heels. I had laughed at those stories back in town. Standing there, watching a single swing reshape the horizon, I wasn't laughing. The strangest part wasn't his size. It was that he never looked at us. We were ants beneath him, yes, but not in a cruel way. More like we were temporary. Replaceable. Like he had seen camps rise and vanish 100 times before and would see 100 more. He kept cutting, but not randomly. He moved through the forest in patterns, wide arcs, deliberate clearings, as if he was sculpting something we were too small to understand. Hours passed, or minutes. Time thinned out in his presence. The men stopped working. We just stood there in the snow, hats in hand, watching a legend breathe. At one point, Babe turned its massive head toward me. I swear. It did. I was the size of a wagon wheel. Dark. Reflective. In it, I didn't see my reflection. I saw trees. Endless trees. Forests thicker than anything left in Minnesota. Forests untouched by steel or saw or railroad. And in that reflection, Paul was younger, stronger, laughing. Then Babe blinked, and I was back in the clearing. By dusk, the horizon had changed. Entire ridgelines were gone. The land looked arranged, not destroyed. Rearranged. Like furniture pushed aside in a room too small, Paul rested the axe over his shoulder. For the first time, he turned slightly. Not toward us, but toward the west. The sun was setting there, bleeding orange across the snow. He exhaled. The sound carried 4 miles. And then he walked. Each step carried him farther from us, toward land not yet carved. Bave, followed hooves, sinking deep, leaving craters that slowly filled with drifting snow. Within minutes, they were silhouettes. Within moments, they were part of the horizon. The silence returned, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This one felt emptied out, like something massive had been removed from the air. No one spoke until full dark. Elias finally leaned close and said, "Now you've seen him." We went back to camp. No one wrote it down. No one reported it. What would we say? That a giant had reorganized the forest. That the land itself answered to something older than railroads and deeds. In the morning, we hiked back to the ridge, where trees had stood. There were clearings, shaped almost perfectly round. In the distance, a new lake glistened, where no lake had been marked on any map we owned. And far beyond that, barely visible, were 2 indentations stretching toward the west. Footprints. They say Paul Bunyan built America with his axe. That's not true. America grew in the spaces he left behind, and sometimes, when the wind dies and the ground feels like it's holding its breath, I still wonder if he's out there walking just ahead of us, reshaping whatever frontier we think we've finally conquered.